Democrats have supermajorities in both houses of the state legislature. And this would be funny if it weren't scary. Do you know that Jerry Brown is actually the most conservative elected Democrat in Sacramento? Now, in what universe Jerry Brown should be considered the most conservative anything is beyond me. But he's the backstop right now. And I don't know about you, but relying on Jerry Brown to do the right thing on every issue, every day of the week is just a bridge too far. That man's not capable of that. In fact, he's not capable of doing the right thing often. And the Democrats who are lined up behind him, they make him look unbelievably conservative. You know, I said I wasn't going to talk about issues, and I really don't intend to. We're going to leave that to Tim and Bob Huff and Kevin McCarthy and Tom McClintock and Connie Conway. We're going to leave that to the legislators. But let me just share with you two things that show how out of touch the Democrats are in Sacramento. The voters last year passed Prop 30, which raised income and sales taxes. By the way, I don't think we had to do that. I think the budget, if we simply restrained spending for 2 years in budget year plus 3, we would have been in surplus. But the voters saw it differently than I did, and they passed Prop 30. Do you know, less than 72 hours later, a Democratic assemblyman, a Democrat senator from Los Angeles, Ted Lieu, proposed tripling the car tax? Less than 72 hours later. At least Senator Leno of San Francisco had the decency to wait a week before he proposed cutting Prop 13. You know Senator Leno from San Francisco, he's the guy that believes that people ought to be able to have 199 pieces of child pornography before it becomes a crime. And the Democratic media would have you believe that we're the ones that are out of touch with the people of California. So our second goal is to eliminate a Democratic supermajority in one house or another. It's easier to do in the Assembly because all 80 Assembly seats are up. And we've got some really good opportunities. In fact, there's a fellow by the name of Steve Fox who's out in the Antelope Valley. He got elected in a district that Steve Cooley carried by 24 points, Carly carried by 16, and Nate Whitman carried by 8.5. And he got elected because we were not focused on doing the nuts and bolts things that it takes to win elections. And he didn't even have to win that, but since we had no ballot integrity program to make sure illegal votes weren't counted, illegal votes were counted, and we lost that seat by less than 150 votes.
Wow.
So our number one goal is to help make sure we keep control of the House of Representatives. The second goal is to eliminate the Democratic supermajority in one house or another. And the third goal is to build the farm team. Most members of the legislature come from local government. Most members of Congress come from the legislature. So when you build from the bottom up, it means we have to compete everywhere. You know, 47% of the mayors and city councilmen in California are Republicans. 47%, only 44% are Democrat. 44% of the school board members are Republican, including districts that are the top 100 in terms of school enrollment population. Those tend to be the urban areas, and we've got 44%. But I don't think it's enough. We as Republicans have ceded too many communities to the other side because we have gotten a little bit lazy. I know what it's like to be in the legislature. I know how hard it is to be in the legislature. But too many of our Republican leaders who are elected spend too much time talking to the choir and not enough time talking to people who don't necessarily know who we are and what we believe. Now look, I love talking to the choir. The choir is where you get applause. But you know, the choir is already converted. And there are people in every community, in every region of this state who share our ideals and our principles and our values. But we're not in those communities sharing our heart and elevating messengers who share our values. And in a lot of communities, the messenger is as important as the message. Are there any scientists in the room, or anybody that studied science? I didn't.
Political science.
Political analysis. I did that. That's a cushy degree, let me tell you. Trust me, I was on academic probation most of my college career, and I still made it. So let me ask a question. If a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, I hear some people say yes and some people say no. Well, let me give you my answer to that, the political answer. If a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it make a sound, it really doesn't matter whether it makes a sound because no one's there to hear it. And there are entire communities where no one has heard our message because we have not been in there sharing our heart and our values and our principles and our beliefs. So we have to go into every community. And the third goal of this party is to challenge the Democrats everywhere. Not just city councils, not just county supervisors, not just sheriffs, not just district attorneys, but utility districts, mosquito abatement districts, you name it. If there's an election, we ought to be there with some Republican candidate raising a banner that people in that community can rally around. I think 47% of the mayors and city council are pretty good, but it's not enough. I think 44% of the school boards are not bad, but it's not enough. And finally, we got to be in a position to seize opportunities that are presented statewide. 2014, I think, is going to be a good year for us. And one thing I absolutely know, having spent a lot of time at the beach, if you're not on the board, you can't catch the wave. So we got to have people on the board for every office, from mosquito abatement district to governor, because if the wave comes and we have people on the board, we will win more races than if we concede any of them. So that's our goal. We're going to focus on getting back to the basics. One, we have to make sure that Nancy Pelosi isn't speaker. Two, we have to eliminate a Democratic supermajority. And three, we have to build the bench. And that takes everybody. That takes Republican candidates, that takes Republican volunteers, that takes Republican Party elected officials, that takes Republican donors. And when we all work together, Republican volunteer organizations, when we work together, we can throw a punch that the Democrats will not see coming. So thank you for everything you've done for the party. Thank you for everything you're going to do for the party. And thank you for letting me be here tonight to be your keynote speaker. I'm going to go to bed if you don't mind.